I dreamed of a tranquil retirement beach house, but my son unveiled an amazing surprise for all. Jane had spent decades touching lives as a compassionate nurse in her quaint seaside town, a place adorned with salt-kissed air and vibrant sunsets. Yet, beneath her gentle exterior lay a simmering yearning for peace. As she neared retirement at 62, that dream took form in the shape of a beach house, a sanctuary where she could finally catch her breath after years of nurturing others. Just as she began visualizing lazy afternoons by the shore and quiet moments with a good book, life threw an unexpected curveball when her son, Lucas, visited the old property that once belonged to her parents, their dilapidated beach house lost in wreckage and time. The moment Lucas declared he'd found the old family treasure, enthusiasm sparked within Jane, but with it came a wave of dread. What if restoring the crumbling structure was a misguided venture? Could Lucas handle the heavy burden of their family legacy? At that very moment, those dreams that had kept Jane going for so long felt inexplicably tangled, like loose threads in a worn tapestry. What if this beach house never becomes our sanctuary? She thought, unease tightening her chest. Balancing between encouragement and doubt, Jane felt like she was caught in an emotional tempest. As Lucas plunged into renovations, she deliberated how best to support him while staying true to her own desires. The thought of the impending developer knocking on their door for a lucrative offer simmered in the back of her mind, heightening her anxiety. Am I to sacrifice my dreams for this project? Is this how I repay him for everything he's accomplished? The memories of all the sacrifices she made for Lucas whispered through her thoughts like gentle reminders. Her heart ached with a struggle for independence and familial loyalty. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Despite her internal conflict, Lucas dove headfirst into restoring the house, uncovering scraps of history in every peeling layer of paint and every cracked beam. Each day, he became a little more like the man Jane had raised him to be: determined, resourceful, strong. Yet as she watched the progress, Jane felt an insatiable knot of anxiety tighten. Was this a way to honor their heritage, or was she pushing him toward something beyond his capabilities? With each swing of his hammer, worries crept in. What if he failed? What if all this effort vanished in the face of the developer's greed? Just as her heart began to soften into envisioning the beach house as a shared haven, Lucas came to her, excitement clashing with uncertainty in his eyes. "Mom, I found something within the walls," he said, breathless with discovery. "Something that could change everything about our family, our legacy." In that moment, with her internal conflict spiraling, Jane stood frozen, her mind racing and heart constricted. This unveiling could either destroy what little tranquility remained, or upend everything she thought she knew. Tension hung thick in the air between them, a single heartbeat laced with doubt and hope. The weight of the unexpected choice loomed heavier than ever. She had a decision to make, one that could redefine her and Lucas's future. The stakes were higher than they had ever been before. The weight of Lucas's revelation settled over Jane like a storm cloud threatening rain. What could he possibly have unearthed in those forgotten walls? Her heart raced with both foreboding and curiosity. It was a moment calling for clarity, but all she felt was a whirlwind of uncertainty. As Lucas stood before her, excitement spilling from his words, she wrestled with the push and pull of anticipation and dread. "Mom, look at this," he urged, holding out a dusty, crinkled document. She could barely make out the faded ink that sprawled across the page. It was a blueprint, complete with dates that predated her memories. She squinted at the unfamiliar symbols and lines that spread out before her like a forgotten map of a treasure yet to be claimed. "What does it mean?" she finally managed, her voice tinged with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "I think it's a family contract," he replied, his enthusiasm barely masking his obvious uncertainty. "It details the renovations and the intended purpose of the house, something about preserving it as a family retreat." Preserving. The word echoed in Jane's mind, blooming into a sense of possibility. For years, she had been a caretaker, But what did this mean for her own dreams? She had always envisioned the house as her sanctuary, a place exempt from responsibility and filled with peace. But who was she to stifle Lucas's ambitions? How could she reconcile her desire for tranquility with the legacy her son appeared eager to uphold? Sitting with Lucas at the cramped kitchen table of their temporary rental, the weight of that document became more than just paper. It represented a choice, one that threatened to unravel everything she wanted versus everything he believed in. For years, she had wrapped herself in the fabric of duty. But could she truly let go of that safety net? "I need to think about it," she said, feeling the words escape her lips more as a reflex than a deliberate choice. The thought of pondering over their next steps sent a fresh wave of anxiety washing over her. What would it mean for her own identity if she didn't seize this moment, and the potential it brought? As the days unfolded, Jane found herself at the beach house more frequently, drawn in by the scent of salt air and nostalgia. Each visit sparked a tug-of-war within her. There was a palpable energy emanating from the house, as if it was whispering the stories of her childhood, beckoning her to reclaim the joy she had set aside for the sake of others. But burdened by her apprehension, she oscillated between inspiration and fear. Could she channel her years of experience as a nurse into nurturing their family legacy instead of merely caring for others? Lucas continued to press on with the renovations, even inviting friends to help, transforming the dilapidated structure into a lively hive of ambition. Jane watched as they began to breathe life back into the walls, yet a discomfort transformed her admiration into concern. What if he was overextending himself? What if this project bled him dry, taking with it his dreams of travel and adventure? Caught between passion and responsibility, Jane sought solace in quiet moments by the sea, allowing the rolling waves to wash away her doubts. She began drafting plans for her own role in this upheaval. If Lucas wanted to honor their family, perhaps it was her turn to embrace the storm rather than shy away from it. And yet, just when she thought she had settled into this new trajectory, a knock on the door shattered her thoughts. The developer's name echoed in her mind, a looming threat, a stark reminder of the financial pressures intertwined with the emotional stakes that felt insurmountable. With her head swimming in confusion, Jane knew she stood at a crossroads. The time had come to face not only the developer, but also her mounting fears about what they might lose if she didn't act decisively. Would she fight for this legacy or step back, allowing it to crumble like the dilapidated boards? The tension between her desires and obligations was palpable. As she opened the door to confront her next dilemma, she felt an unshakable sense that whatever lay beyond would change everything once again. The developer stood on the threshold, a sharp contrast to the faded, rustic charm of the beach house behind Jane. His crisp suit and calculated smile felt foreign against the backdrop of emotional upheaval and unfinished dreams. As she opened the door wider, the salty breeze tousled her hair, a reminder that nature was indifferent to the chaos swirling below her surface. "Good afternoon," he said with a confidence that felt more like a challenge than a greeting. "I wanted to discuss the future of this property." Jane's heart raced as she felt not just the weight of his presence, but the enormity of what was at stake. The beach house was not just a physical space. It was a repository of memories, ambitions, and an uncertain future. "What do you mean by future?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "The property has potential, enormous potential," he replied, his tone mingled with charm and sternness. "My team has plans that would significantly boost its value. I think you'd appreciate what we're capable of. It could be a lucrative venture, possibly aiding you and Lucas in pursuing a life elsewhere." In that moment, Jane realized he was offering her a lifeline. The possibility of financial freedom was alluring, but at what cost? Would she truly be comfortable relinquishing the very essence of the place she'd grown up in, or handing the future of her family over to someone who saw it as merely an investment? "Lucas has plans," she said carefully, weighing her words. "This house means more to us than just money, does it? Or do you mean it means more to him?" "You have to consider what you want, Jane," he pressed, leaning closer. "Change can be your ally if you let it." His words simmered in her mind, igniting both fear and temptation. Who was she in this equation? A guardian of dreams long abandoned, or a player in an unforeseen game where her values were at stake? Eyeing the documents he held, Jane knew they contained more than just floor plans. They represented her indecisiveness, her inability to fully embrace or reject the new path that presented itself. "Give me time to think about it," she replied, a hint of resolve threading through her uncertainty. She closed the door slowly, the click echoing like the finality of a decision. Yet as she turned, she could feel the weight of his gaze pressing against her back, a reminder that time was not on her side. In the days that followed, the developer's words echoed mercilessly in her mind, forcing her to confront uncomfortable truths about her own desires. Each moment spent within the house felt like an interrogation, the walls now scrutinizing her loyalties. Had she sacrificed too much for others while discounting her own? Determined, Jane began to pen her own vision for the house, channeling the wisdom she had gained from years of nursing a mix of care, compassion, and courage. She laid out her thoughts on paper, sketching not only the physical renovations Lucas was spearheading, but also her intentions to create spaces that nurtured both family and self. But even as she felt the stirrings of empowerment, the thought of disappointing Lucas plagued her. Would he view her newfound vigor as activism or rebellion? Could she bring him into this fold without stifling his enthusiasm? As she faced the expanse of ocean from the deck, waves crashing against the shore, Jane realized she had a choice. She could either allow the tide of rapid change to sweep her away, or she could learn to swim against it. With renewed determination, she decided to approach Lucas, ready to share her ideas and confronting the prospect of their diverging ambitions head-on. But just as she plotted her strategy, a frantic phone call from Lucas shattered her resolve. "Mom, you need to come back to the house. Now." An icy dread enveloped her. What emergency lay waiting? Would she have to confront more than just her own unfolding challenges? As she raced to prepare, a single thought pulsed in her mind. Change was imminent, and she must navigate it or risk losing everything. Jane's mind raced as she sped down the familiar coastal road, her thoughts a tempest of anxiety about what awaited her. What could have happened to set Lucas off? She desperately hoped it wasn't the house. Their dream was intricately woven into its very walls. But the urgency in his voice echoed ominously, amplifying her sense of impending doom. Pulling into the driveway, she noted the disheveled state of the yard, unraked leaves, and a forgotten barbecue that had seen better days. Everything felt off-kilter, and the atmosphere in the house thrummed with an unmistakable tension. As she stepped inside, the scent of fresh paint mingled with the sea air, causing a flicker of curiosity amid her concerns. "Mom," Lucas called from the living room, his tone a mix of excitement and distress. She found him standing by the fireplace, an array of blueprints and sketches spread across the coffee table. Instinctively, she felt apprehensive about the array of plans littering their sacred space, which now seemed more like a battleground of ideas than a cozy gathering point for their family. "What's going on?" "You sounded," she hesitated, unable to find the right word to describe her rising panic. "I've been thinking about the developer's proposal," he stated, his brow furrowed but his eyes bright with something akin to determination. "And I think we should consider his vision. It could be what we need." Jane's heart sank. The burden of their conflicting aspirations pressed down on her like a weight too heavy to bear. "You want to work with him? After everything we've talked about?" "Not just work with him," Lucas replied, urgency lacing his voice, "but make the plans even better. I see so much more potential here. We can modernize without losing the charm. We can create something that celebrates our history, while also moving us forward." She bristled at his words, feeling an unsettling clash between her dreams and his. "But what about our dream, Lucas? Are we just going to forsake that?" Her voice trembled, reflecting her confusion. "Maybe our dreams need to evolve," he countered, maintaining eye contact. "I know it's hard, but you have to admit, we've been stuck. This could open opportunities for both of us. You've always taught me to embrace change, Mom." His words felt like daggers aimed at her crumbling resolve. "Embrace change? Or abandon what matters?" she said, a flash of defiance rising in her chest. She felt torn. The duality of wanting to support her son while clinging to her own values left her reeling. "Don't you want to make this place truly ours? A family legacy that we can build together? Think of the memories we could create." Lucas's passion was palpable, lighting a spark of temptation in Jane's mind. A whisper of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could blend their ideas into something magical. Yet the cost still loomed before her. Could she truly walk the line of allowing their histories to coexist without feeling as though she was sacrificing an integral part of herself? "Let me see your ideas," she said finally, curiosity taking root despite her reservations. As Lucas enthusiastically flipped through the plans, Jane's heart raced. Could this be the bridge between their diverging paths? But somewhere deep in her mind, a shadow lingered. Would this new direction lead her to rediscover herself? Or would it lead them both into even deeper conflict? As Lucas discussed the finer details of their mutual passion for design, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental, teetering between profound innovation and irrevocable loss. Still, one question nagged at her, a relentless echo in the back of her mind. What would happen if their visions stirred an unseen divide? As Lucas pointed excitedly towards a sketch for a new porch design, Jane suddenly realized that her next step might hold the key to unraveling deeper truths about both their dreams. Could they carve out a future together without sacrificing their individual strengths and desires? And what if each line of the blueprint told a story of not just dream and ambition, but also conflict and decision? The moment was ripe for a dialogue that could either fuse their strengths or tear them apart. But just then, the phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen, the developer's name flashing ominously, a reminder of the lingering choices weighing upon them. The time had come to face not only the uncertainty of the house, but the very essence of their evolving relationship. Would she have the courage to take the plunge into this new chapter? Jane took a deep breath, the weight of Lucas's ambition colliding with her own reverence for their dream. As she stared at the blueprints spread before her, her mind drifted to their past, the smiles, the laughter, the countless weekends spent rejuvenating the old home. Each stroke of Lucas's pencil on the paper resonated with a vision she had meticulously crafted over the years. But now, those very plans felt like a pendulum swinging toward change, and she was unsure how to navigate the chaos it brought within her. "Mom." Lucas's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her from the fog of doubt. "What do you think?" His expectation hung in the air, mixing excitement with a lurking uncertainty of her response. She wanted to feel that spark of enthusiasm he had, but her heart was an anchor, the chains of tradition and nostalgia threatening to drag her down. "I think I need time," she finally replied, her voice steadier than the tornado within. Lucas's face fell for a moment, frustration flickering across his features. "Time? Mom, you have to understand, this isn't just about the house. It's about us, our future." Jane felt the confrontation brewing. She cleared her throat, a familiar tension of mother-son challenges tightening around her. "And what if we lose what defines us? What if this future, this idea you're so eager for, comes at a cost we can't afford? You're thinking of the past, not the possibilities. What if we can create something new, something better? We can honor this house and still integrate modern elements," he urged, desperation creeping into his tone. "You mean make it unrecognizable?" she replied sharply, a defensive edge spawning from her inner turmoil. Silence settled between them like a heavy curtain, the shadows of their disagreement looming large. Was she being unyielding, or simply protective? Doubts gnawed at her resolve as she realized that each moment of hesitation shifted her reality, propelling them down diverging paths. "Let us explore the ideas together. Rather than see this as a death of our dream, what if we viewed it as a rebirth?" Lucas's voice softened, his hope shining through the cracks of her uncertainty. Jane's heart softened, but only slightly. Perhaps he was right. Could this vision allow them to cultivate shared memories anew, even if it meant potentially sacrificing elements she held dear? She picked up one of the sketches, tracing the lines with her fingertips. "What makes this different, Lucas? What if we embrace change but still hold tight to what brought us here?" Lucas stepped closer, his eyes luminous with conviction. "That's it, Mom. We can merge history with innovation. Let us keep the essence alive, but welcome what the future holds. It's not about replacement, it's evolution. We just need to find a way to blend our visions." His words cut through her hesitation, igniting a flicker of curiosity within her. Maybe this was not just a conflict, but an opportunity for both of them to grow and redefine what their home could signify. But as she considered the possibilities, the phone buzzed once more, the incoming message from the developer stroking a nerve of unwelcome reality. The excitement that had been building inside her now spiraled into trepidation. "Mom, are you okay?" Lucas's concern mingled with her apprehension, snapping her back into focus. "I'm grappling with this idea of evolution. If we move forward, there's no going back." Her voice trembled, but within, a cautious determination began to mount. Could she embrace this challenge as a chance to redefine herself as well? "I just want to do this together," Lucas replied quietly, the pull of their relationship echoing powerfully in the room. With renewed resolve, Jane turned to face him. "Then let us do it together. But we'll have to lay down the core elements we cannot compromise on. For both our dreams to flourish, clarity is essential." Lucas nodded, a smile breaking through the tension as they both reached for the blueprints. It was a step, a tentative yet bold leap into the unknown, but a leap toward their shared future, nonetheless. Yet amid the promise of new beginnings, Jane couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing at a crossroads, one with divergent paths. Secrets lay deeper than just their differing visions. There were unspoken fears and desires lurking at the edges. As the plans spread out like a map of hope and apprehension, she wondered what hidden complexities they would need to dissect. What might emerge from the fertile ground of their collaboration? Would the journey of redefining their dreams unveil more than just a house? Jane felt an ember of excitement mingle with anxiety. The evolution was just beginning, but would it forge an unbreakable bond or lay bare latent disagreements? And just like that, the excitement was tethered to unease, as she felt a shift within herself, ready to embrace this nascent journey. What would they unearth next on this road toward renewal? And would they both be the architects of their evolved dreams? The following week blurred into a whirlwind of activities, with Jane and Lucas diving deep into the project. They spent evenings poring over blueprints, discussing details, and navigating the choppy waters of compromise. Jane felt the tension in her chest recede slightly, nurtured by Lucas's infectious enthusiasm, but a shadow still lingered, whispering doubts that would not easily fade. As they met with the developer, Jane noticed more than just plans being laid out. She observed how Lucas thrived, his passion and confidence becoming more apparent with each meeting. It was as if the very act of proposing change ignited a spark she had often missed in him. Equality and collaboration became their mantra, but Jane could not deny the pang of resistance rising in her. "Can we take a step back?" she suggested one evening as they stood before a glowing screen displaying renderings. "Let us look at the history of this place before we fully embrace what it's becoming." Lucas paused, his pencil hovering mid-air. "I thought we were already blending the old with the new, Mom. Isn't that what you want?" "It is," she responded, her voice steadying as she gripped the counter for grounding. "But there's a difference between merging ideas and losing sight of the essence." A frown crossed Lucas's face. "Mom, that essence can be integrated into modern life. We can't hold on to every piece of it." His words struck her like a chord that refused to resonate. Why did this change feel so daunting? Perhaps it wasn't solely about the house, but about her fears of being overshadowed. Would their relationship change too, as they stood on the brink of forging a new reality? In a moment of bold intuition, Jane sought to excavate that deeper fear. What was it about Lucas's growing confidence that unsettled her? She spent the next day reflecting, leaning into the quiet of the house, letting the silence echo her thoughts. Memories flooded her. Lucas had once been hesitant, unsure, often seeking her approval. Was this newfound assertiveness a reflection of his growth or a challenge to her relevance? As if summoned by her thoughts, Lucas burst in, breathless. "Mom, I found something amazing." His enthusiasm was palpable, pulling her back from her introspections. Excitement bounced off the walls like sunlight filtering through the curtains. With wide eyes, he unveiled plans for converting their dilapidated garage into a creative workspace. A place where they could not only create together, but also invite friends and family to experience their vision collaboratively. "Imagine what we can do here," he beamed. "We can hold workshops, maybe even collaborate with local artists." Jane's heart raced, but anxiety tightened around her chest. She recognized the ambition in his proposal. It was a leap toward community and creativity. While the prospect thrilled her, her instinct urged caution. What if this venture expanded beyond their little project? Lucas, that's a wonderful idea, but let us be cautious. She softened her tone, knowing she needed to guide rather than stifle him. It's vital we don't lose our focus just because we're excited. Caution is important, but so is growth, Mom. Aren't we supposed to push boundaries? His brow nodded with earnestness, revealing how far he had come. Their gaze held each other, an unspoken battle breaking forth between motherly fear and son's audacious potential. What if he was right? Wasn't this the evolution she craved? And so, a storm of conflicting emotions churned within her, each wave crashing against her resolve. She could feel herself at a crossroads, grappling with the weight of rejection against the warmth of acceptance. Could she, too, evolve in this space he envisioned? What would she need to let go of in order to embrace this new path? As they debated, Jane felt the enormity of her responsibility, not just to their home but to the very essence of who they were becoming together. Were they prepared to fully explore this new direction? The clamor of possibility rang loudly in her ears, echoing uncertainty, while coaxing her to consider the life she had yet to embrace. The question lingered, heavy yet exhilarating. How would their bond and future be reshaped in the tapestry they were weaving together? The moment felt charged with promise, augmenting their interplay as creators, a push and pull resonating between past and future. Jane subtly registered that this wasn't merely about architecture, it was about forging a deeper connection that could either uplift or divide. And like that, a realization dawned on her. In stepping into change alongside Lucas, she too stood to uncover latent talents, undiscovered aspects of herself that had merely lingered in the shadows of doubt. Maybe the struggle was not just his but her own, and within that struggle lay a reservoir of growth just waiting to be tapped. But as she exhaled deeply, savoring the prospect of this journey, she recoiled at another realization. Moving forward meant unearthing more than just desires. It meant confronting fears long buried. As the evening wore on, Jane laid plans for their next conversation, a conversation that might reveal more than either of them anticipated. Would they emerge as partners in this adventure, or would they navigate something more complex lurking beneath the surface? The question loomed, and although no answers materialized just yet, Jane felt the stirring of resolve and possibility within her. What truths waited to be unveiled, and what kind of horizon would they discover as they ventured further into the uncharted territory ahead? The following day unfolded in a haze of uncertainty, as Jane awoke with the heaviness of her internal confrontation still looming over her. The house, usually a comforting sanctuary, felt like an arena where her vulnerabilities were laid bare. Each corner bore witness to the memories of a more subtle existence, one that didn't require the boldness Lucas was proposing. She brewed coffee, her hands trembling slightly as she poured it into her favorite mug, the one with a chipped edge. Lucas arrived at the breakfast table, energized, ready to dive back into plans for their project. His eagerness contrasted sharply with her reluctance, an unmistakable friction that resonated throughout the room. "So, are we ready for today?" he asked, a hopeful glimmer in his eye as he unfolded the blueprints. His enthusiasm flickered like a flame longing for wind, but Jane hesitated, wondering how strong her resolve would be against the gusts of change. "Lucas," she began, letting the word hang like a delicate thread. "I need to talk about the garage." She took a deep breath. This discussion was pivotal. While your ideas are exciting, we have to consider what the space truly means to us first. He frowned, confusion knitting his brow. "You mean like nostalgia? I thought we were trying to create something new." "Exactly," she replied, urgency lacing her tone. "But it's essential we honor what it's been before we go rushing into what it could be. What if we lose sight of the heart of this project?" Lucas leaned back, his eyes narrowing as if contemplating the intensity of her words. There was a moment of silence, the air thick with tension, until he finally responded, "Mom, I get that history matters, but if we only look back, how do we build anything for the future?" Her heart sank. His words resonated with the truth she feared. Was she clinging too tightly to the past? Each tick of the clock reminded her that time was not static. As he spoke, she realized the crux of her dilemma. Vulnerability had never been her strongest suit, and she was long overdue for a reckoning. "Let us find a middle ground," Lucas proposed, and Jane noticed the determination in his eyes transform from a challenge to an invitation. What do we want this space to evoke? Can it be a bridge between our memories and new experiences? As he spoke, an ember of possibility ignited within her, prompting her to consider the prospect of having those creative workshops not just as an endeavor, but as a celebration of past and present, a way to welcome everyone into their journey. But at what cost? Would this creative space truly be a reflection of both of them, or would it risk overshadowing her in the process? With renewed clarity, Jane proposed a compromise. What if we host an exhibition or workshop that arms those who come with the stories of this house? A narrative that weaves together what it has meant to us alongside what we envision for it. Now you're talking, Lucas exclaimed, his vibrant energy sparking again. We could have a section that showcases the old while sharing our plans for the new. It's not either, it's both. For the first time in days, Jane felt a tangible bond forming between their visions, knitting them together in a way that felt mutually beneficial. But lurking beneath the surface was the awareness that her participation would require her to shed the fear of irrelevance. They were forging a new partnership, but it demanded that she recognize and celebrate Lucas's growth without losing her own identity. That sounds incredible, but it means each of us must step out of our comfort zones, she acknowledged, unease weaving into her resolve. I need to embrace this transition without reservation, but so do you. Are you willing? He met her gaze, and an intensity flickered like live wire electricity between them. Mom, I'm here to push boundaries. Let us not just make a project. Let us create something that honors our bond. As she nodded, the weight felt lighter. Yet the shadows of doubt still lingered at the edges of her mind. Jane knew this was only the beginning of a transformation that could redefine not just their project but their relationship as mother and son. That afternoon, as they organized their ideas, Jane's hands trembled with both fear and excitement. Could she truly relinquish an outdated version of herself to dive into the depths of creativity and connection? But with every sketch they laid out, every idea exchanged, an awakening surged within her. A silent war began to stir, pitting a familiar past against an uncertain future. Would she claim her voice in a space poised for growth, or would she remain shackled by the chains of hesitation? In the dim light of the setting sun, Jane braced herself for this path forward, knowing it would demand both sacrifice and the courage to confront truths she had kept buried. The project loomed ahead, preserved in ambition and shadows, waiting patiently for the moment she would make her choice. But in the whirlpool of new revelations and their burgeoning partnership, a crucial question hovered like a specter over them. What would it take for Jane to shatter her fears and step into this new narrative on their journey? As the days turned into a blur of blueprints and ideas, Jane found herself navigating a realm rife with uncertainty. With Lucas's enthusiasm often overshadowing her more cautious demeanor, she struggled to transform her apprehensions into actionable decisions. The garage gradually became more than just a physical space. It emerged as a watershed moment for her growth. Every morning, as sunlight streamed through the window, Jane's mind churned with possibilities. She wrestled with the burgeoning realization that the garage could serve not only as a creative outlet, but as a bridge connecting her past self with the woman she aspired to become. Would she seize the opportunity to redefine her narrative, or would fear continue to anchor her? Each time they sat together, surrounded by sketches and dreams, Jane felt an increasing pressure. The silent voices of self-doubt crept in, whispering that she was too old to innovate, too entrenched in her comfort zone to embrace the new. They see me as just a relic of the past, she lamented quietly to herself. But each moment spent collaborating with Lucas nudged her toward a brighter realization point. One afternoon, while reviewing layouts, an unexpected thought struck her. What if I designed a space within the garage that reflects not only our ideas but actual stories from the neighborhood? Real people sharing their experiences? For a fleeting moment, she felt a wave of exhilaration swell within her, an innovative idea that could redefine why they created together. Mom, that's fantastic. Lucas's enthusiasm buoyed her spirits. We could organize a storytelling session, invite people to share what the garage has meant to them, and showcase those memories as part of our project. As they brainstormed, Jane noticed a subtle shift within herself. Her past experiences were beginning to feel like stepping stones rather than constraints. She realized she had often shied away from asserting herself, comfortable in the shadows as a background figure. Yet now, as she navigated this partnership, the desire to assert her identity ignited like a flame. I want to craft a narrative that doesn't just juxtapose our visions, but interweaves them, she said, the conviction in her voice unwavering. This project can honor both our histories and carve out a path for the future. Lucas nodded, excitement radiating off him. Exactly. But let us solidify the details and make a clear plan. I can help set up the tech and promotion side, but we need to define how these stories will take shape. Under the hum of mutual inspiration, Jane's insecurities began to dissolve. They spent hours delineating roles, sketching out ideas, and even practicing what they would say in front of potential contributors. Yet, in the quiet corners of her mind, something lingered. A fear of truly allowing herself to be seen. As they wrapped up one evening, Lucas leaned back, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. I think we should include your own story too. Show everyone that being vulnerable can lead to something powerful. Jane felt a prick of panic at the thought. Displaying her vulnerability felt as terrifying as standing on a precipice. But as she glanced at her son, she understood that this was part of the growth she sought. It would require not only stepping out of her comfort zone, but embracing the parts of her journey that had long felt too heavy to share. In the flickering light of their brainstorming sessions, Jane began to formulate a plan for how she could share her story without losing her essence. It was a critical step, one that could catalyze transformation for both of them. She took a deep breath, channeling the sense of purpose that had begun to take form. Let us not just aim for the garage to become a workspace. What if we turn it into a storytelling hub? A place of connection and creativity? Yet, as excitement blossomed between them, a gnawing doubt lingered. What if she committed to sharing something so personal, only to feel judged or misunderstood? The memory of her past failures whispered like a siren, trying to pull her back. Jane had reached a critical juncture. In the next phase of their project, would she risk exposing her heart for the sake of building something beautiful? With the shadows of uncertainty looming larger than ever, Jane braced herself for the conversation that awaited her. This wasn't merely about a garage. It would become a reckoning of self, a test of her ability to embrace change and vulnerability. The moment of truth awaited her, a defining decision that would shape the trajectory of their project and their relationship forever. Would she step into the light of authenticity or retreat into the safe cocoon of her old self? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue that danced through the garage window, illuminating Jane's tangled thoughts. With her newfound vision for the project pulsing like a heartbeat, she knew there was a decision looming that could lay bare her soul. The tentative excitement that filled the air was accompanied by a growing weight of apprehension. Sharing her story felt like walking into the unknown, where shadows of vulnerability threatened to swallow her whole. She and Lucas had spent countless hours transforming the garage into an inviting workspace, their ideas vibrant and alive. Yet, while they shaped a creative haven, Jane realized she was still encased in a protective shell. Underneath the enthusiasm, an internal struggle gnawed at her. How could she traverse that chasm from private hurt to public sharing? Would the words flow freely, or would each sentence become a battle against the entrenched fear of judgment? "Mom, we need your story," Lucas prodded, sensing her hesitation. The sincerity in his voice pierced through her defenses, igniting a flicker of determination. Yet her throat constricted at the thought. She had spent years avoiding the spotlight, her past mistakes left unexamined, tucked away like dusty relics in storage. What if revisiting them only served to haunt her further? With every moment spent discussing their project, Jane's internal debate grew more heated. Should she focus solely on the stories of others and maintain her distance, or should she delve into her own narrative as the cornerstone of their collaboration? She grappled with the notion that vulnerability could indeed breed strength, but the leap felt insurmountable. On a particularly vibrant afternoon, while rearranging bits of equipment in the garage, Jane caught sight of an old journal nestled among personal artifacts. Its pages, filled with handwritten thoughts, represented her most profound dreams and fears. That journal had held her aspirations all along, a time capsule of identity lost amidst the demands of her daily life. Picking it up, she felt a sudden rush of nostalgia and curiosity. What if I shared something from here? She murmured, the prospect both thrilling and terrifying. The idea of coupling her reflections with their project took seed, but it was accompanied by a shroud of trepidation. She wondered, would that transformation resonate, or would it simply expose her to scrutiny? Mom. Lucas's voice broke through her reverie. What are you thinking? Biting her lip, she weighed her words. I'm considering incorporating my experiences into the storytelling sessions, she confessed, the admission both liberating and heavy. Maybe we could turn your story into a central theme in the launch, Lucas suggested, his excitement palpable. It could draw people in and show them that we all struggle with our pasts. His eagerness beckoned her forward but also filled her with dread. Would sharing her narrative be an integral part of their connection? Or could it create a rift instead? The possibility of unveiling her struggles under a spotlight sparked an awareness of her need for acceptance, an urgency to transition from mere history to the present. They spent the following days drafting the roadmap for their storytelling hub, Jane poring over fragments of her journal, while Lucas meticulously organized the technical aspects. Even though she felt emboldened by each new development, her heart raced with apprehension every time she stared at the blank page before her. How could she find the words to tell her story without risking everything? As they prepared to share the project vision with a small group of trusted allies, doubt crashed over her again. What if they didn't understand? What if the past she was so keen to reveal became a weapon against her? The exhalation of her last breath of fear recognized that these risks were a turning of the page. They were pages she needed to write before revealing the future narrative they were constructing. The time has come, she whispered to herself, realizing that embracing her story was not just essential, it was transformational. Facing her fears meant taking the reins of her life back from the shadows and allowing herself to shine. With her heart pounding in sync with her mounting resolve, Jane positioned herself on the brink of revelation, a moment that would redefine not just their project, but the very essence of who she was destined to become. As the day of their presentation approached, uncertainty tangled with excitement. Would she muster the courage to emerge from her shell, or would she retreat, sacrificing not only her story but the entirety of their vision? The defining moment lay just around the corner, and Jane felt the pressure of impending clarity close around her like a tightening noose. The day of the presentation arrived drenched in anticipation. Jane stood at the threshold of the garage, where light spilled through the windows, illuminating the space they had transformed together. The meticulous organization of tools and furniture reflected the harmony they had crafted. Yet internally, Jane waged a battle against her lingering fears. Each step toward the gathering crowd felt monumental, charged with the weight of her past and the promise of her goals. As friends and family mingled, voicing their excitement about the potential storytelling hub, Jane noticed Lucas interacting with attendees, his confidence radiating like warmth from the afternoon sun. She couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Her son had truly blossomed through this endeavor. But as she watched, doubt crept back. Would they still see her contributions as meaningful, or would Lucas's brilliance eclipse her effort? Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself for the moment she had been avoiding. Lucas, she called, her voice steady but warm, summoning him over. He approached, eyebrows raised in eager curiosity. "Mom, are you ready?" he asked, light in his eyes and a warmth that encouraged. Jane nodded silently, both terrified and determined. Together, they stepped to the front, with Lucas introducing their concept. "We've crafted this space not only for our dreams but also as a vessel for everyone's stories. Moments shared, histories woven, and futures created all in one place." His enthusiasm seared through the room, igniting energy among the attendees. As he finished speaking, eyes turned toward her, expectation heavy in the air. A spark of recognition flared inside her, igniting a flicker of courage she hadn't realized was buried so deep. Jane stepped forward, her heart racing with an intensity that surged through her veins. "I want to share my story," she began, setting her journal on the table. "This journal holds my journey, filled with laughter, regrets, dreams, and a few heartaches." With each word, she peeled back layers of doubt that had encased her, revealing reflections that had often felt too vulnerable to share. She recounted memories of her nursing career, images of lives saved, tears dried, and compassion dispensed, all colored by her long-held desires for solace and self. They had shaped her, pushed her to strive for a tranquil sanctuary, only to lose sight of herself amidst obligations to others. She noticed Lucas's eyes filled with pride, reflecting her own journey, but also his support for what lay ahead. Time slowed as she continued, cautious yet bold, invoking laughter and understanding from the crowd. The air was thick with recognition. A shared connection unveiling behind her story, a realization that vulnerability can indeed breathe life into dreams. As she concluded, the room held a stillness, a collective intake of breath and the warmth of connection wrapping around them. And now, I want our storytelling hub not just to be a place for others, but for us too, an evolution stitched together by memory and love. Then she turned to Lucas, visibly moved. We can honor our past and still embrace the creative chaos that lies ahead. This journey is not just yours or mine but ours together. With that declaration, applause erupted around her, enthusiasm crackling like electricity in the air. Eyes sparkling with newfound understanding and mutual respect replaced the apprehension she had once felt. Lucas stepped closer to Jane, wrapping an arm around her. "That was incredible, Mom," he said, beaming with pride. "You demonstrated how our memories can be the foundation for something beautiful." In that moment, everything crystallized into clarity, a tangible sense of personal achievement. Jane had faced her fears and emerged not just as a mother, but as a co-creator, an authentic voice in this journey. The transformation was more than about the garage. It was about reclaiming her identity and affirming her role in a shared future. As she looked into the room, connections forming and stories ready to be shared, Jane felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. Together, they decultivated a space where growth was celebrated and hope thrived. The journey remained uncertain, but she embraced the possibilities that lay ahead with solid confidence, a recognized competence now woven into both her career and her legacy. With the sun setting on the horizon, Jane stood proudly, a beacon of renewed purpose, ready to navigate the wave of creativity and community. They had initiated a pathway that honored the whispers of the past while embracing the vibrant dance of the future. This is the moment that you need to subscribe now to continue following the inspirational journey of personal growth and evolution. Leave a like now. It fuels our passion to bring you more stories that empower. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness the transformative power of self-discovery. Let's uplift each other in the pursuit of our dreams. Comment below your thoughts and reactions to this emotional culmination. Your feedback means the world to us.